Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 78 of the Self-Publishing Roundtable, the podcast for indie authors by indie authors, where we discuss today's topics and issues that matter to the business of the self-published author. I am your moderator, Wade Finnegan, and my co-panelists, as always, are Michelle Reed.
Hello.
Just in the nick of time. And Xavier Granville.
Hello, Internet.
And our very special panelist for this episode is fantasy author Krista Walsh. Hi, Krista.
Hello.
Krista is the author of many things, but recent fantasy series, and I want to make sure, I should have asked this before, so you're not being professional. Is it the Maratus trilogy? Did I say that right?
Close enough. Maratus, yeah.
Maratus, okay. And she recently launched the third book in that series. It's called Even Light, and it was just a good timing to bring her in to talk about being an indie fantasy author and also completing her trilogy, where we talk a lot about the idea of having the third book is the big deal, and then what her launch experience was with that. As Xavier had pointed out on the post, she did some really good stuff with some digital and real-world marketing, so we're going to pick her brain about that, and a little bit more about the fantasy genre in general in the indie community. So thank you, Krista, for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Everybody watching live, I don't know how many we got in tonight, but hopefully we got a few of you over on the selfpublishingroundtable.com. Please leave some questions and comments. Help us out with that and what you want to know. We'll do our best to get them into the conversation. At the end of the show, please take a moment to leave a review on iTunes. I think everything is up and running there now. You can go back and watch or listen to old shows, or give us a thumbs up on YouTube, or however you like to share. Every social media share helps us to keep the show viable, and we really do appreciate your support. Anybody got any announcements or anything you want to do before we start in on questions? Xavier, about the contest we got going on? Anything going on with that?
Well, I recently found out a couple things about that contest that I'm going to be revealing come March of our first episode, so March 5th, with the episode with Brian Cohen. There's some new things that are going to be part of that flash fiction contest, so do feel free to keep sending me flash fiction stories in the meantime, but come the 5th of March, there's going to be a new reveal with the whole flash fiction contest, so I look forward to telling you all about that when the time comes. Otherwise, new with me, the Dinosaur Noir, Curse of the Diamond Heart, is now out on paperback, so that's neat.
Pick your copy up today.
Yeah, if you want, I guess.
No, do it. No, don't give them that out. No, do it.
I do it.
We're
I
talking
guess.
about launches. That's a terrible tagline.
That's right.
Yeah, maybe it'll be like, buy it now. Maybe, I guess, now.
That might be a Canadian thing, right? You got to be too nice. I don't want to force you to buy it, but if you'd really like to, please. Well, no, it's not. I don't want to put that burden on you.
I apologize for asking you if you want to buy my book.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah, it's all about the dollars spent. You're like, oh, there's like $15 reasons why I need to say sorry to you.
All right. I don't have anything announced yet. I'm hopefully one of these weeks soon, but I haven't been writing on every day for like 5 days in a row now or something, so that's really good for me.
Wow.
So,
Good.
There.
That's better than I did this week.
Oh, woohoo! Because Michelle, you've been a rock star lately, so I'm top now.
Yeah, but I had the worst week ever, so... Boo.
Yeah, I wasn't going to bring that up. The car thing was just bizarro, but maybe later on or towards the end of the show we can talk about that.
Good times.
Yeah, good times. There you go. All right. Well, I guess we should probably start off with some questions. I know Xavier had some in the queue, so I'll let Mr. Granville go first.
Okay, just like for a basic first one, who or maybe what first inspired you to get into self-publishing?
That's a tough one. It was actually probably my friend Colin Colin Barnes. He's the one that kind of talked me through the first steps and all of that stuff. If you haven't checked out his work, highly recommend it. He does more sci-fi space opera, but no, he's been there kind of right from the get-go. So I would definitely not be here today if not with his advice and encouragement and pushing me through those. No one will buy it, and it's terrible, and what am I doing? And him just going, let them decide that. Just do it.
Yeah, no, Colin's a great guy, and he's a friend of the podcast. Colin's written stuff with Darren Waremouth, who's been on the podcast. Same with and Darren's written stuff with Carl Sinclair, who's started up this whole self-publishing roundtable. So it's great to see how much like the greater indie community has kind of grown, and how we can kind of reach out and have people back on the show this way. So how did you first start, I guess, communicating with Colin and getting into the indie community then?
It was actually through Twitter, and it was something I think 3 or 4 years ago now, and there were about 4 or 5 of us that kind of just became this little Twitter clique, and it kind of developed from there. And of all of them, we actually all still stay in touch. So there was erotica writers in there, the sci-fi, various fantasy. It was just a huge mishmash of genres, but it was really great to connect with them. And that was kind of my first introduction to any kind of thing that was self-published. Before that, there was still very heavily that stigma on, well, if I do that, then am I just kind of giving into the vanity publishing? And so that was the real eye-opening thing for me. It was fantastic.
Yeah, no, and that's true. Like, the question over vanity publishing is always, and it should be a concern for any young author going out there in the world and trying to put their work out. I guess it really comes down to what services that you're using and how credible of a product you're actually putting out. Like, if you are taking the time to have your book polished by an editor multiple times, if necessary, and having your cover, well designed and blurb, all of the things about that a publisher should do, then maybe in indie is the route for you.
No,
but it's all about how much control and entrepreneurial things do you want to have control about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, true. And I like the networking aspect that you talked about with Twitter and getting, even though there are different cross genres and everything like that. I noticed that. I mean, that's how this podcast started. Was Twitter, and the indie community is very supportive. Whether it's not like, well, I'm a fantasy author, I don't want to hang out with you guys, or romance or whatever. It's people are very supportive of each other, so, which is really cool. Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Michelle, I see you're muted. I don't know if I wanted to cue you in. Did you want to give Robert's question in there, or?
Yes, it says, what fantasy books are you reading, and do you have anything new to recommend?
Let's see. Any that I'm reading right at this moment? No, actually, I just finished a murder mystery. Classic murder mystery. One of my favorite new fantasy authors that's coming right now, I actually have 2. Both of them are indie authors. The first is Jocelyn A. Fox. She wrote The Iron Sword. Absolutely incredible book. And the other is Kate Sparks. Her novel Bound came out last June, and it's really, really good. I couldn't put either of those down.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Very good recommendations. Remember to make a note of that. So
I will add those to the chat.
So I'll take the next question, even though I am stealing it from Xavier. I was kind of curious about this. How did you go about finding your readership early on, and how has that changed or expanded? I guess two forms of the question here. By the time getting to the 3rd book in the trilogy, have you found more ways to find more readers?
That's always the biggest challenge, isn't it? And even now, I kind of still struggle with that a little bit. My first publication was a short story in actually Colin's anthology, The Day of Demons, and so I think I kind of started with a bit with a readership there, and just because I was helping to promote that, so I met a few people. But I honestly don't even know where my most of my readers come in. It started off in my mind. They're still mostly friends and family who just read out of pity, but people are reading them from all over the world. So clearly, I'm getting to them somehow. So I do have my website that I keep a steady blog on, and Twitter, Facebook, all of that kind of stuff. But that's something that I'm still working on and still trying to figure out kind of how to get in touch with more people and new people. So I'm open to advice.
What is your website?
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. What is your website, real quick, so I can link it?
It is theravensquill.com.
Awesome. And that way people who aren't watching can know what it is.
Yes. Do you use the email list? You got a newsletter or anything like that?
I do. I can definitely grab the link for that as well.
Awesome. How often are you putting that out? Is it a regular thing, or do you just do it when you have a new release, or
For me, I generally prefer to keep it for new releases and if I have any big promotions coming up. Like for most recently, actually, I had my book 3 Even Light release. At the same time, I put Even's Song, the first book, free, so I kind of got to combine those two. But I generally keep it just for the big events. And I've heard various things on whether that's a good idea or not, but I haven't had any complaints, so...
Yeah, perfect. Xavier, I'll let you jump in.
Okay. Yeah. So speaking of all the collaborative box sets, and I noticed that you have, I think, what, two or three of them on your Amazon page. What do you think you got out of that experience, starting off with that short story thing? Because a lot of authors will do that collaborative box set thing. What did you take away from that, and how much do you find? Do you find any funneling of readership from those box sets into your novels?
From Day of Demons, it was just a really great opportunity to, as I say, kind of get introduced into the industry and also just to connect with a few really great authors, a few of which I do still keep in touch with. After Day of Demons, I participated with Devin O'Branigan's The Witch Hunt of the Blood anthology. On that one, it was almost a completely different experience because we also edited each other's work. So there was a much more in-depth feel of all of the other stories involved, which was a lot of fun, a lot of collaborative thinking, a lot of emails back and forth. So just to kind of get into the group think idea and just, again, more networking, more connections, working as a group. I mean, writing's such a solitary craft, right? So any chance to kind of talk shop with another author is really fantastic. And I think I found more... Devin already had a pretty solid readership, so a lot of them read the novella series and then kind of stayed along with me, which I'm very thankful for.
Cool. Yeah, I like that. It's interesting when you see all these different, I guess, looks or attempts, or because what wasn't the one you were just speaking of kind of done based off of a general story arc from novellas, whereas some of the other box sets were kind of based on a theme or otherwise a genre?
For Witch Hunt?
Yeah.
That one, it was particularly interesting because it was a sequel to her original novel, which was just called Witch Hunt. And so we kind of took characters that she had already created and adapted them into our own idea for it. So
okay, cool.
Yeah, it was that was kind of another interesting thing, of playing around in someone else's playground, right? And you're just like, where are the boundaries and how much leeway do you have? But it was, yeah, so that was really unique and fun.
Yeah, no, and we've seen people like, the guys over at the Self-Publishing Podcast have done the same thing with their Dream Engine series, and same with Jay Thorne and the Black something Betrayal. That was a collaborative novel, and I thought it was quite well written as far as I've read of it, and it's really neat to see just all these different. You can call them experiments, but there's so many different ways that you could tackle a box set, going all the way from just being actually a collaborative novel to going off of a box set by theme, box set by character type, by the options are limitless, and it's a genre hopper's dream, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a great way for people to sample, right? I mean, that's it. You buy one and you can get a bunch. I mean, if you're a reader, that's a great thing. Krista, what sort of the things are you working on right now for on the marketing standpoint? I know that you're kind of transitioning, trying to make this your headlining career. What sort of things are you working on?
I put the first book as free for the ebook, so just to test that and get it into as many, like the first book into as many reader hands as possible. So far, that's going pretty well. I also have a free short story available for people who read the first book as kind of a jump between book 1 and book 2. So again, just to kind of give readers more of a chance to get in touch with these characters and fall in love with them, to convince them to move on to the rest of the trilogy.
Do they seem to be jumping on that free short story? Does that seem to be working well?
Yeah, so far.
Okay.
Yeah, I had some good feedback from it, which is great.
And is that part of the mailing list?
It's actually like if you get the ebook and it goes down at the last page of the ebook, it gives you a link to the short story.
Okay, so it's in your back matter. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a great idea.
I'm actually honestly kind of blanking of what else I'm working on. I did do the ad space thing right now, so I'm just kind of working on that. I did have my launch, so I've been doing a lot of in-person marketing. So I did have my launch day a week after the book came out, which I had at an indie bookstore here in town.
Oh.
I figure it's a good way to not only wave my hands around and say, "Hey, look at me," but it also helps the somewhat flagging indie bookstore market that's happening, right? We've had a few really big major indie bookstore closures this year already. So, but no, that went really, really well. We had cake.
Ah,
great.
Cake's always good, right?
Yeah. So, and from what I can tell, my most successful marketing strategy to date has been having cake.
Yeah, let them have cake. Let them have cake.
Michelle just came back in the chat just saying, "I heard cake."
I'm sorry that I don't have any to offer this evening, but we'll work on that.
Oh man, I'm out of here.
I also
was
a vendor at my first convention just 2 weekends ago here in Ottawa, and that again was really successful. Just a great way to catch new readers, people who are interested in the genre, people who are. It was a geek convention, so it was definitely people who all have a like-minded love of all things fantasy and sci-fi. So that was a great way to meet readers in person and pitch my book in person. So I'm really enjoying that side of it, actually.
No, yeah, and that's the cool thing about those a larger convention like that, rather than when you see something where it's like the big sci-fi conventions where it's open to all kinds of different things. I can't even think of any of their names right now, but you do see all these different fans discovering different series or otherwise finding little things about their series that they didn't know about. I'm a big Doctor Who fan, and a lot of people who go to the conventions don't find out about the Doctor Who audiobooks until they go to the go to the actual fan expos, and then they see all these almost thousands of Doctor Who audiobooks. It's almost in the thousands, and then they see them lining the walls, and they're like, "Oh, okay, so there's a little bit more to the story then." And that's the great thing about the cross pollination, I guess you'd call it, about a nerd expo, where you will see someone who's, you know, a Star Trek guy hanging out with Star Wars fans, as much as there's going to be someone who's a sci-fi reader reading a fantasy book.
Yeah. No, it's really fantastic. I love the atmosphere at those conventions. It's great.
That's on my list of things to do for this year, is go to a convention.
Krista, did you say the name of that? What was the name of the convention you went to?
This particular one was a debut one by a group, a geek organization in Ottawa called Wonder Geeks Activate, and the convention was the Awesome Adventure Academy.
I love that so much.
Wonder Geeks Activate.
I like that you went to a smaller one and not one of the big ones, because wouldn't that be like more affordable? And
it was, plus it was hosted by a friend of mine, so I was supporting him as well as he was supporting me. So again, it was just a really great mutual thing in that community.
awesome.
And yeah, again, like I just so many networks and people that came in. So there's like possible connection to someone that runs one of the medieval or is involved with the organizing one of the medieval fairs who might want me as a vendor. Like it's just so much fun.
Yeah, and Ottawa is a great city for that. When I lived in Ottawa for 2 years, I was there as a filmmaker, and it was great to just meet all different people who, because I was in film, I ended up meeting someone who was in print, who knew someone who was in radio, that actually knew someone that was making a video game and was in animation. Like it's a fun small town of a lot of creatives. It's really not as hustle bustle as Toronto as far as Canada is concerned, anyways.
It is the biggest small town, that's for sure.
Yeah, it definitely is. So it is funny how, because it has a lot of that small town feel, the random people that you will come in contact with that live in that area.
Yeah, well, that's cool. That's excellent. Michelle, we got a couple questions from the website, correct?
Mm-hmm. David Anson wants to know, what is your writing process like? Do you plot things out, or do you just kind of wing it, or what?
It's the outliner versus pantser question.
Mm-hmm.
I phrase mine, or I term mine as the connect the dots method. So I'm not a strict outliner, but I like to have my beginning, I like to have my conclusion, and a bunch of random scenes throughout, and then I kind of close my eyes and see how my characters take me to each spot. And it leads to a lot of really amazing surprises that usually have me going, what? Even I didn't know that! Which is so much fun, but still at least with target points to get to, so I don't get completely off track.
Mm-hmm. That's a good idea. Do you worry about it if you deviate off, like if your character tells you to do something else, or do you just go with it?
I just go with it. They usually lead me to a similar ending to what I had originally planned, even if the big details aren't the same. But half the fun of writing is the exploration and adventure of it. So no, I just run with it.
That's awesome. I always write the end, and then I'm like, we'll figure out how to get to the end. I literally don't care about anything except the last scene.
Yeah, I'm always plotting things, like strictly plotting it, but at the same time, as far as those little nuances, I always kind of take a break in between writing, kind of like 500 words or so, just to kind of step away from that outline, just to think, I'm like, where's some spontaneity that I could throw into this that I know is only something I could think of right now off the top of my head. Like and a lot of times it ends up being humor.
That's a good idea.
In my case, just because that's the way that my mind thinks. So if I'm getting this is getting a little dry, maybe throw some humor in, and that's where my mind ends up going first. But and I think that people should be doing that. Like it is all about getting the word count out and being able to get that book done in a timely fashion for indie authors. But at the same time, if you are a heavy plotter, do take the time to not only think, could this individual text be better? How could I better the processes of where I'm actually thinking about writing. Just where's a little thing I could throw in.
Yeah. No, that's really true.
You're so smart.
Oh, thanks.
Was there? I think Jay had a question too. I just look at the scroll and I've missed it now. Does anybody got it?
Yeah,
I got it.
You want to do it?
You can do it. I've been talking.
Do it. Okay, it
No.
says no. It says how much world building do you do before writing your book, and how do you feel about Sanderson's laws for magic?
Second part is tricky because I actually don't know that I've,
okay.
done much research into reading them. But I'll make a note to look into them and see what he says.
They're really good. Yeah, they're really neat. But if you've got this down, then tell us how to do it.
Well, I guess part of the reason I haven't done much research into it is because in this particular series, magic is almost secondary.
Okay.
As for the world building, I kind of... It goes as I think as I write. So I'll see things... Well, again, especially in this book, it worked because my character was introduced into this world that he believed he had created, but he's seeing how what's actual fact is different than what he imagined it was. So I kind of got to explore it for the first time through his eyes, through eyes that thought had known it but didn't know it. It's very meta. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, I think I write ideas down. Like, I'm terrible with maps and things like that. So in terms of spatial, I'm not particularly strong, but I can see how it should be laid out. I can get an idea of orientation, where things are, and then it just kind of goes from there.
So do you have any? So you don't have any of your own hard and fast rules that you follow? You just kind of go with it, and if it feels right, then you stick with it?
That's
is that
pretty
fair?
much it to this date. I mean, I'm constantly developing and trying to develop my craft and read what other people have to write about it. But so far, I've just kind of been figuring it out as I go.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. I have a question. Are you a bigger reader? Because I find that, and this may be really dorky, but I'll get really inspired by movies more so than I will about books. Like, I went to see The Hobbit today because I just couldn't. I've had such a terrible week. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't write anything. So I went to see The Hobbit today, and I came home and was like, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. So
I find lately reading's been a challenge because of things that have been going on. So I completely understand what you're saying about movies. For me, it's anything that has a great story. So I just started playing Dragon Age Inquisition. Oh my god, that's sparking all kinds of ideas.
I can only imagine.
But absolutely, like Tim Burton, well, old Tim Burton always sparks.
Yeah, specify old Tim Burton.
I love films. Anything with for me, my stuff is always very, very character heavy. So plot almost comes secondary. So it's character and it's dialogue. So if I watch a movie or play a video game that's really strong in those two, it sparks so much inspiration for me.
I'm glad I'm not alone.
Not at all.
I was sitting there by myself in the movie theater, and I was like, this is so great. I'm going to write 3 more books today.
Yeah, I remember one time sitting in an empty theater just by myself watching the Muppets movie. This was like one of the last days that was in the theaters, and this was like the 3rd time that I'd seen it. And I was just, and after going home writing, I was like, this was a good day.
Yeah. I think everybody should take themselves to the movies.
I agree.
3rd time seeing it though, Xavier? Really? 3 times?
Yeah. I thought about
Shut
it
up.
4 times. So
You don't know how much I love the Muppets.
I loved the half-hour shows. Like those were awesome. The movies, yeah, but as
no.
Thank you, Michelle.
Muppet Christmas Carol.
That is the best. Come on.
So, Krista, I'll bring up Sanderson's laws of magic. This is Brandon Sanderson. Just to get your quick thoughts on them. He only has real 3 laws so far. One is an author's ability to solve conflict satisfactorily with magic is directly proportional to how well the reader understands said magic. Number two being limitations have to be greater than powers, so your character's weaknesses are more interesting than his or her abilities. And the third law is expand what you already have before you add something new, meaning that a writer should go deeper with world building rather than going wider.
All right, I could see the advantages to those things. I definitely agree with the second one. I mean, the challenges also, the limitations always have to be greater than the power. Otherwise, it's just like snap your fingers and bam, it's done.
Mm-hmm.
Like in my Moratis trilogy, the Enchantress brings Jeff into his books, essentially into his books as he believes it. But
spoilers.
That's the premise of the book. But the twist is that she doesn't know how to get him back. So it's beyond like what she's trained herself in so far. Which, I mean, she could just say, okay, well, thanks, now that we've got in. Again, this is in the first chapter. She could just say, okay, now that we've cleared all that up, go home, but then my book would be one chapter long. So, you know, it's much more fun to have more obstacles come in. As for the world building, I also think that's a really good point, because the deeper you go, the more richness it has, and the more realistic it has for the reader who comes into this like new world. Presumably, it's a new world that they're coming into. And it's just like actually stepping into it, aside from just walking into kind of this cardboard cutout version of it and being like, okay, well, it's cool.
I'm looking for questions, sorry, but mostly.
Okay. Well, I got a question while you look. I think Jay had one, but you can follow up behind me.
Mm-hmm.
So, and actually, I think Xavier was going to bring this up, but I was curious too. What platforms are you on? And since you are north of the border of the U.S., is Kobo your biggest seller, or how's it working with Kobo?
First of all, I originally heard your question as what planet forms are you on, and I'm like, oh, whoa, am I like?
I'm literally trying to locate myself.
We can go there too, if you want.
That's a whole different conversation. Actually, Kindle is still my primary platform, I think, because I am on all of them. So Nook, Sony, or Apple, Kobo, but I find Kindle is definitely my primary market. Kobo's surprisingly slow, which surprises me considering it. You know, chapters in Kobo are one and the same, but I think Kindle is still one of the popular ones up here, up in the cold, vast, frozen wasteland.
No, it's true. Like I find with Kobo, it is pretty successful as far as your larger publishing labels go. But unless you're an avid reader of indie publishing, it only gets. It's the same with Amazon, where if you buy a bunch of indie books, it's going to be recommending you indie books. But as far as just entering into the marketplace, unlike Amazon, where those algorithms do have a larger toll on what books get brought up on the page, Kobo does seem to have a certain set form of books of certain publishing labels and all being brick and mortar publishing labels, nothing independent, unless they are heavily discounted in price.
I haven't really followed this, but did Kobo ever really rebound after that whole big thing about shutting down all indie books after that erotica scandal thing they had?
Oh yeah, they did eventually fix that.
I know that they at least are publishing on it, but I'm wondering in terms of promoting indie books or visibility of indie books post that. I'm wondering how that affected it.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. personally, I think when was the first time that I bought? I've had two Kobos since when I first started getting into e-reading, and when I first bought the e-reader, it was the marketplace was very new at the time, and it was still only recommending mostly your larger Penguin and Harper publishing companies. So personally, I haven't seen any change in how they advertise as far as their front pages go. Their genre pages are another thing, because those things get ranked by what is selling. But as far as what they promote, that's another thing.
Okay. There's a question from Demelza I wanted to get to, and I didn't clear this with Krista before, but she's wanting to know a little bit about numbers. Maybe not share everything, but at least at launch, are you willing to kind of tell us what worked for you at launch and how you saw numbers go from that? And if not, no big deal, but just kind of curious what you used for your launch. And
most of the numbers then would be off of the free, just from making the book free, because again, when I put the book 3 out, I mostly focused on marketing book 1 again. But that definitely got me into the triple digits within the first 3 days, or first 2 days making it free. So I don't know that I would have tried that before having the entire trilogy out. But no, that definitely, I definitely saw some good traction there almost immediately. Even before any ads, the only thing that I had going was a blog post saying, "Hey, book 1 is now free," and then I had, I think, two reblogs. That was it, and within a matter of half an hour, I already had a couple hundred downloads of that, and it just kind of spiraled out from there.
Oh, wow. So that was really good. So you talked a little, actually, I think Jay Chastain had a question in the comments too about paid platforms. What paid advertising did you do for this?
I went for a couple, so I managed to, again, because it was free, I managed to get into a bunch of the kind of smaller ones as well, which helped, but I got an ENT, Space, ebook soda, the ebook booster, like a bunch of those. That one actually was good because it stretched out over a long period of time, because they give out, distribute through a bunch of other smaller ones, to about 50 plus.
ebookbooster.com or what?
Yeah, I believe so, that one.
I will look that up. Keep talking, sorry.
Okay. What other ones were there? I looked into FreeBooksy, I believe, was another one. And Kindle Tips and Books, I believe.
Yeah, I think the website for that is like fkbooksandtips.com or something.
Something like that.
Something strange. I mean, different. I like them. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, and I mean, it was just about like clustering kind of the ads close together, and just so that more people saw it on the same day, which then gets you into the Amazon algorithm. So anyway, it's all strategies that I'm kind of trying to learn one step at a time as I go, and seeing what works and what doesn't. 2015 is definitely going to be my year of trial and error and seeing how things go.
Have you tried for a BookBub? Did you already answer that and I missed it, or?
You did not. No, you did not. I have not yet tried. I'm waiting to get a few more reviews up before I give that a try.
This is my year to try that too, so I was just wondering.
So how long ago did you put this free? How long has it been now?
January 21st, I want to say.
Yeah, it was something around that time, yeah.
Or the 19th, maybe.
Okay, and is it still staying sticky? Is it still...
Check it out. It's on my Kobo.
Nice.
Hey, you were one of my Kobo buyers.
Yeah, one of your 2.
Actually, I have to say that at the same time that things were spiking through Amazon, by spiking with Kobo, more than the average. I actually got into the double digits. I was very happy.
Well, and that's just it. I think as much as Canadians do buy off of Amazon primarily, like me, like I bought the book like a month ago or so, when it was 99 cents, $1.99 or something like that. So I bought it about a month ago, and I'd read like the first 2 chapters or so, and that's what encouraged me to invite you on here. But when because I'm Canadian, I don't have access to buying Kindles very easily. Otherwise, so I own Kobos. So when the book became free, of course, I got it for free on my Kobo, so it's easier for me to read that way. And yeah. I imagine that other Canadians will do the same thing.
I like how you pluralize your e-readers. Now
Yes.
I imagine full shelf of Kobos.
Oh yeah, no, I think I've got about 4 or 5 bookshelves, and there's books, there's e-readers, there's Blu-rays, there's DVDs, CDs, all the things.
Nice.
But to answer your question about how it's still doing even 3 weeks later, most days I still do hit triple digits for downloads.
Wow. That's pretty sticky then.
And like some days it'll drop a bit lower, but then randomly, because of the phase of the moon perhaps, or maybe someone will mention it that I don't know about, it will enter into a spike again.
And how long ago was your ad cluster thing?
When did they start coming out? I think it was the week after it was free, so I'm pretty sure it was the 26th, 27th, 28th.
Of what month?
Of January.
Okay. I was just making sure that I got it right. Very good.
Yeah,
well
and I'm
done.
starting to see some turnaround for books 2 and 3 as well. So.
Good.
Yeah. That's awesome. How are we doing on the website? I've been neglecting that. I was listening to Krista so intently I forgot to look.
Yeah.
They're talking amongst themselves.
Jay did have a question, just asking basically for your series, do you have any consideration for major publishing, non-self-publishing, but to go with a major publisher?
At the moment, no. I'm really happy with what I'm doing. It turns out, as I'm learning, I'm quite a control freak. So I like having 100% of the yay or nay on this, and being able to explore it myself. So I mean, down the road, absolutely, it's possible. But for right now, I'm happy with the way things are going.
Nice. Xavier, help me out. What are the other questions?
We got distracted because Jay's talking about naked pics on the website.
Jay.
So, yeah.
I like how Jay came back on the chat room now with a different alias and picture. Now he's JJ Aussie, a.k.a. Jay.
Mm-hmm.
Damn you, Jay Chastain. You will forever be Chastain!
Good personality.
Because I'm scrambling for questions, Krista, what is the best place in Ottawa to get a poutine?
That's a really mean question to ask because I'm a vegetarian. I can't eat poutine.
Oh no!
Like, yeah. This is actually quite devastating.
Wow.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I don't either.
It's the food of the gods.
It's the food. Yeah, it's the food of the gods.
Okay.
You take French fries, you cover it with cheese curds, and you smother that in gravy.
No, thank you.
No.
Don't knock it till you try it.
No. Thank you. Try
that
trust.
Okay, and how is that? We should put that in there too. How's that spelled? Say it one more time.
Poutine. Yeah.
Poutine.
Yeah. The French call it poutine.
Yeah.
The English call it poutine.
Yes.
Poutine.
I'm right on the border, right? I'm Franco-Ontarien, so for me, it's kind of a mix of the two.
Yeah, and yeah, likewise, and that's how it is in Ottawa. You're right in between that too. So you get a real mix as far as the French Canadian and the English Canadian there, and that's poutine is a French Canadian dish. It's something that in Ottawa you can get in surplus, and it's the best. Someone just put in the comments, what is a cheese curd?
It's
Okay.
cheese that squeaks when you eat it.
Yeah. It is squeaky cheese. Okay. There's a process when cheese is made where there's some excess, and that is called the curd.
Yeah.
Such a gross word.
The more that you know.
And yet, the more it squeaks, the better it is. Hence, St. Albert's is the best cheese curd.
Oh my word, gross. Guys.
Cheese curd is some of the best stuff ever.
Yeah, it's actually not as disgusting as it sounds, I promise.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
I will eat like burgers or something.
We got Carl Sinclair saying it's delicious. We got Demel's at Carlton in Australia saying it's illegal.
What? It's illegal.
She says it's illegal in Australia. What is happening?
Go away.
Like they're shaving off the cheese as it's coming off the block. They're like, get rid of that curd. It needs to go to New Zealand. Stat. We can't have this in the country.
Note to self: stick to New Zealand if I want to spread poutine across the world.
Yeah, please. The answer to my question, personally, I think the Three Brothers had some of the best poutine in Ottawa. I really liked their place. It was a shawarma hut, and they have a couple different places around town. And as like poutine, shawarma is in surplus in Ottawa.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Shawarma is everywhere in Ottawa. And the best part about going to a shawarma place in Ottawa is that you can probably get poutine there too.
You guys are just making up words.
I wish that we were.
I lost the question I just found, dang it.
Oh yeah, Kate had a question, didn't she?
Yeah.
We got totally off track there, but that's okay. It was interesting anyway.
Okay, we're gonna put. Okay, we're back. Krista, when you are done thinking about gross food, can you please tell us about your cover art? Do you do your own or hire it out?
Gross food.
Well, it's not gross. No, I do not have an visual artistic bone in my body, so I definitely hire out. The cover art for these three was actually done by Kevin Lester in England, who was absolutely phenomenal. I can't thank him enough for that very iconic image on the first book. It was a real pleasure to work with him. So I'm not sure where I'm going to go for the books going forward, but it definitely, if it was by me, it would be a very, very poorly sketched stick figure.
I'm right there with you, Krista.
Yeah.
Yeah, draw it all.
Okay.
Carl Sinclair says he's the proud Pastafarian. He was
That's
touched
a real
by
thing.
Yeah, I know. He was touched by his noodly appendage, now an ordained ministry of the faith of the flying spaghetti monster. May he live forever.
Touched by his noodly appendage, isn't that against the law in Australia too?
I don't know if they, if they have freaking cheese curds as being illegal. It changes my perspective on Australia altogether. Like, it was one thing for them to have firestorms and like rains of death and all way too many spiders and tarantulas and scorpions and different poisonous things that can kill you all in one place. But now They say that cheese curds are illegal.
I'll go just to see Demelta, but we just won't talk about that. My husband in the chat.
Yeah, they're going crazy now. We started a whole thing. Not really kind of on topic at all, but that's okay.
Oh no, now they're on to Poontang.
Yeah, I know.
Classing the place up, John Reed. At least it wasn't my fault this time.
And they're also talking about lamb eyeballs?
Yes, and Carl's talking about testicles. Seriously.
Okay, I'll do a real question. So, Krista,
Thank you, Wade.
You talked about pantsing versus outlining, but I don't think we really got into actually what a typical writing day looks like for you. How are you balancing? How often do you write in chunks? Certain times of the day, that sort of thing. A little more of your routine.
My transition to as I said, kind of 3/4 time authorhood is I'm still almost in the adjustment phase because that only started January 1st. So in terms of like an actual routine, I haven't quite settled on one yet. But I've been doing a lot of sprinting lately, which I find has been making a huge difference in terms of word count. So I do try to get at least on day job days, at least 1,000 words a day. Otherwise, ideally 3,000 or 4,000 words a day. And I don't care. Honestly, at this point, I'm spreading that out across an entire day. I'm fine with that for now. But I find it so hard to disconnect from social media that it's ideal time is either at 5 o'clock in the morning before anyone else wakes up, or like 10 o'clock at night when all of the people that I know who have to work the next day are in bed. So it's just finding time when I don't need to talk to anyone.
Okay, and are you devoting any specific time to marketing? Like, do you put out chunks of time, or just kind of whenever you get a chance, or?
I kind of have just in the morning. I do like an hour of social media time. I wish I could say I limited myself to just that hour, but even then, I don't tend to like on Twitter. I rarely mention, "Hey, this is the link for my book." I more talk about generic stuff or things that have caught my attention or things like that to keep it almost away from the book. It's like an aversion marketing theory. But for my blog post, I try to do twice a week. So Mondays with more of either if I do cover reveals, they're usually Mondays. Author interviews, I usually do Mondays, and then Thursday have a bit more of an update day. I also do a daily short story, and so once a week I'll post one of my short stories from the week.
Nice.
Nice, yeah. Excellent. Xavier, I saw you smiling a lot as there's more stuff going on the website. I minimized it because it was way too distracting.
There are postings of a certain noodly one, flying spaghetti monster. And I am now posting a picture of poutine, so you guys can suck it.
Oh, is that how you eat it?
No! God, no! It's French fries, gravy, and cheese. Come on, suck it.
Well, yeah.
You could use a fork or a spork if you would like.
I'm partial to the fork myself. Back in the day when I could still eat it. It's been 13 years.
Oh my! You sound very depressed about that too. Yeah.
One day I'll go back.
Just for the poutine, right? That's the only reason to break your vegetarianism.
Well, that and bacon. I mean, come on, you know.
Ah, that's true.
Yeah, bacon is good, but vegetarian is better. For your health, anyways.
For your health, yeah. There you go. Xavier, do you have any more questions? We are getting close to the hour, and I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I figured we'd get one last one in there, just for all those, I guess, entry-level or newbie indie authors coming out there, especially in the fantasy genre. Are there any words of wisdom that you can pass out to them in this last 4 minutes?
Basically, don't skimp on any. It's tough to get started up, and it's really easy to hit that publish now button, but it's just take the time to make sure that you're putting out a product that you're really, really happy with, and that you can stand to read and you don't cringe when you get to certain passages. That I think is probably the biggest thing. And I have a lot of people coming to me saying, "Oh, I wrote this thing and I want to get it published." And I say, "Well, has anyone else read it yet?" And they say, "No." Always get a second set of eyes. I mean, I'm not really not a huge believer in like writing rules, but second set of eyes is one of those. I think that's kind of a must.
Great.
Yeah, no, it's a good answer to that. You definitely need to have a second, if not third, fourth, as many sets of eyes as possible when you're.
But yeah, I think I usually average about 5 per book before it finally goes out, plus mine.
Yeah, no, I think I had about 6 beta readers for that first book before it went to an editor.
There But there's also the almost having. Do you find that you run the risk of having too many?
Oh, of course, and there is a difference between opinion versus actual advice. So you do need to trim the fat as far as those either both compliments and suggestions. So it's neither as good as they say nor as bad as they say. What you really need to do is figure out as good as it possibly could be to you and to them, but they're not going to expect good or bad. What you really need to do is just get it as good as it possibly can be.
Mm-hmm.
I would throw in there too. Not that I'm giving advice for Krista, but I would just say her cover looks spectacular, and I think that's probably, we've heard that on the show a number of times. The cover's got to be good, and Krista definitely hit that with her covers. So throwing that in there. David Anson had a question, right? What
Last second.
Last second, yeah. We're all about stretching it for especially. Since it's Canadian night, right? We never end on time or anything. What difference are you finding in writing a series versus standalones? Either looking at sales-wise, writing-wise, how would you compare the two?
Sales is difficult to say. I haven't published a standalone yet. Like even when Evensong came out, it was kind of, by the time it came to release time, it was already intended to be a trilogy. So definitely in terms of writing it, it was kind of kept as open-ended as possible. But from what I can tell, especially with indie, from what I've experienced just with me, is that, again, it comes down to the more titles you have, the more people clap eyes on it. So in terms of that, it would it's a boost to sales because you have more of a backlog by the time your third book comes out. But it'll be interesting to see. I do have a few ideas in mind for standalone novels, so I'm kind of excited to compare and see how it goes in terms of writing it and how it does once it's out. So I'll hang on to that question, and we'll reboot it again.
That sounds to me like you want to come back, and so I think we should have you back when you have some more releases and such.
Oh, I'd love to.
If you're willing. See,
I challenge all of you to at least try Patin once before I come back next time.
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's a Canadian challenge. All that you have to do is take your regular old French fries, you American crazies, and you put some gravy on it, and then some cheese.
Okay, I can do that.
And then
French fries, gravy, and cheese—they're all good on their own. Now you just combine them.
Yeah,
amazingness.
It's not like we're blowing your minds here. Come on.
It's like Kentucky Fried Chicken. They put mashed potatoes, they put corn and gravy all in one thing.
Yeah, who do you think that they're ripping off, man?
That's true. Right.
Remind me never to go out to eat with any of you.
You would love to go out to eat with me. You know it.
I seriously doubt that. I'll stay for the conversation, and I'll just bring a Snickers bar.
Snickers.
This
Yes.
podcast is brought to you by Snickers.
I wish it was, because they wouldn't have to pay us at all. I just product, please.
The food
Are
is
you
over
hungry?
here.
Grab a Snickers.
Damn it! Now I want Snickers.
I know, right? I've been like super hangry all week, and I'm like, I need a Snickers every day.
Now the best is a Snickers Blizzard. That's
Ooh.
the
Or
good
a,
old Dairy Queen.
or a Snickers poutine.
Or Snickers, followed by 5 more Snickers.
Well, I think that is. I don't know. I think it's a wrap to our show.
I think this thing should die.
I think it's about time. So, Krista, thank you so much for coming on. We really do appreciate it. You were very insightful and way to put up with our shenanigans. So, we appreciate that very much. I will remind everybody, just please give us a review on iTunes. We could use some more. Some recent ones would be great. And share, media, thumbs up, all that good stuff. Next week on the show, I actually think I have it right because I booked this guest as Stacy Claflin. So we'll have her on next week. She's going to talk about going full time. So we'll go from Krista from 3/4 time to full time, which we all strive to do. So thanks everybody for watching, and Michelle, thanks for getting here.
You know what?
I'm just kidding. That's all right.
Welcome to a team to your house for that.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. I'll try it. Whatever. So, good night, everybody. Thanks.
Good night.